something to think about. This is the closest thing to the Holocaust that any of us have lived through. But the fact is now Bibi and the Israeli hard-right government has a mandate, I gotta be careful the way I say this, they're gonna try to ethnically cleanse Gaza. I mean, I don't use that term lightly, okay? They're talking about basically removing 2.5 million people from there, okay? And honestly, they have a mandate to go seek justice and revenge. They do. This idea that they need to have a truce or a peace treaty, that's morally crap after you see women and children be burned alive and dragged to the streets.
Assalamu alaikum and a warm welcome to all of you, my dear brothers and sisters. Today we will discuss a voice that was once a prominent advocate for one of the most contentious geopolitical issues of our time. It's the voice of Charlie Kirk, a figure known to millions as a leading conservative activist and founder of Turning Point USA. Tragically, his life was cut short on September 10, 2025. But in the time leading up to his passing, his stance on a topic he once championed had been called into question. His views on Israel and his unwavering support for the state. The shift is not a simple change of mind. It reveals a complex and evolving perspective that has caught the attention of both his supporters and detractors. For many years, Charlie Kirk has been a highly controversial figure due to what critics and media outlets have consistently labeled as Islamophobic rhetoric. He has frequently used his platform to express views that portray Islam as a faith fundamentally at odds with Western values and American principles. A key example of this came in a particularly inflammatory instance where he drew a deeply offensive comparison between the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and Jeffrey Epstein, citing the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's marriage to Aisha at a young age. This comment, among others, has been used to argue that Islam is a threat to modern society. Kirk has also argued that in many Muslim-majority countries, non-Muslims are not treated with the same fairness and respect as Muslims, often facing discrimination or persecution. Kirk has also not shielded away from making broad, sweeping statements about the religion, such as when he declared that Islam is the sword the left is using to slit the throat of America. This statement frames Islam not just as a foreign ideology, but as an active weapon being used by political opponents to undermine the United States. His rhetoric often centers on the idea that Islam is incompatible with core Western principles like freedom of speech and religion, as well as the separation of mosque and state, suggesting that the religion's very nature poses a danger to these foundational concepts. Furthermore, he has used his platform to promote the idea that dedicated Islamic areas in America pose a threat to the country, and that it's not Islamophobia to notice that Muslims want to import values into the West that seek to destabilize our civilization. This kind of language has been widely criticized for fueling anti-Muslim sentiment and promoting a narrative of a clash of civilizations. Despite facing significant backlash, Kirk has remained firm in his position, often framing his comments as a part of a spiritual battle against what he perceives as a threat to Western civilization. Despite facing criticism, Kirk has remained firm in his position.
The question is macro Islam compatible with Western values? Macro. Of course it's not. There are three major reasons why. Islam does not believe in freedom of speech. Islam does not believe in freedom of religion, and Islam does not believe in separation of mosque and state. Those three things are antithetical to the West. In a Muslim-majority country, most Muslim-majority countries, you cannot criticize the Prophet Muhammad. In most Muslim-majority countries, you do not have the same robust freedom of religion protections. And finally, whereas we in the West are very careful to try to intermix religion and state, they are commanded to actually go into the state and try to change the state to be more Islamic around the core pillars of Islam. And the last thing I'll finally say is, I cannot see a single Western country that has become more Islamic and has become a better place to live that is happier or freer.
By what metric? Just happiness, quality of life?
Everything from quality of life, from cultural cohesion, from whether people want to live there, prior to the native-born fertility rates.
The Quran commands believers to be just, even when dealing with people they dislike or who have wronged them. Quran 5:8. All believers, stand firm for Allah and bear true testimony. Do not let the hatred of a people lead you to injustice. Be just. That is closer to righteousness. And be mindful of Allah. Surely Allah is all aware of what you do. This verse explicitly states that hatred for a group of people should not lead to unjust behavior. It is a powerful reminder to uphold justice regardless of your personal feelings. Another verse that shows this is Quran 4:135. O believers, stand firm for justice as witnesses for Allah, even if it is against yourselves, your parents, or your close relatives. Whether the person is rich or poor, Allah is best to protect both. So do not follow your desires, lest you deviate. If you distort justice or turn away, then Allah is certainly all aware of what you do. This verse broadens the concept of justice to include even those closest to you, emphasizing that fairness is a core principle that must be applied universally. These verses clearly show how in Islam it clearly states to be fair with anyone and everyone. For years, Kirk was considered a staunch and unwavering supporter of Israel, often defending the country's actions, including its military campaign in Gaza. He described himself as an evangelical Christian, a conservative, a Trump supporter, a Republican who has defended Israel his whole life. Israeli leaders, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, have praised Kirk as a lion-hearted friend of Israel and a one-in-a-generation figure. However, in recent times, Kirk's position appears to have become more nuanced, causing some to question if he is starting to shift his views. He has hosted discussions with young conservatives who express skepticism about the United States' relationship with Israel, and he has appeared to voice frustration with accusations of anti-Semitism against those who criticize Israel. For example, he has stated that he is told by some people, if I criticized AIPAC, I'm anti-Semitic. In a recent podcast, Kirk made a more direct and shocking statement, mentioning how Bibi and the Israeli government are trying to ethnically cleanse Gaza. He sounded very disappointed and had much more to say about them. This commentary, while justifying Israel's military actions, also shows his willingness to use strong language that suggests a potential conflict with his previous unwavering support. He showed great disagreement with the fact that Israel will not seek any truce or peace treaty. This shift in his public statements has led to further debate about the direction of his political views. While he was still considered a pro-Israel advocate, his more recent commentary and willingness to entertain differing viewpoints suggest a potential change in the America First movement's perspective on Washington's unconditional support for its Middle East ally. This shift in dialogue from unquestioning support to a more critical examination of the relationship highlights a changing dynamic within the conservative movement. Charlie Kirk's journey from an ardent defender of Israel to a figure who allows for debate and skepticism on the topic reflects a broader conversation happening within the American conservative movement. His views on Islam and Israel, while seemingly contradictory, the intersection of these two issues, particularly in the context of the recent conflict in Gaza, has led to a re-evaluation of long-held beliefs among some of his followers. Ultimately, his story serves as a reminder that even the most deeply entrenched political views can be challenged by shifting global events and the evolving perspectives of a younger generation of activists. The untimely death of Charlie Kirk on September 10, 2025 has left a nation in shock. While authorities have labeled his killing as a political assassination, the full motivations behind the act remain a subject of intense debate and speculation. The tragic event has sparked a new wave of discussion about political violence in the United States and the increasingly polarized nature of public discourse. In the wake of this tragedy, our thoughts and prayers are with his family and loved ones as they mourn his loss.
حاشاك أن يبقى هشيم